Ryu Ishigori is finally here, and in this guide I'll show you everything you actually need to know about him. His moveset, best combos, useful tips, and the biggest mistakes people are probably going to make with him. Let's get started. First, let's quickly go over his moveset. Unlike other characters, Ryu only has 3 M1s, with his final neutral M1 being a ranged beam that deals 8 damage. His uppercut and down slam are still the same. However, that final neutral M1 can be blocked and it doesn't hit grounded targets. Now it's important to talk about his passive and special. Ryu has a passive called Overheat. Every move except for his third and second one builds up this meter, and using the final neutral M1 also fills it by 10%. If you fill the meter all the way to 100%, every move or attack that applies Overheat becomes disabled. Also, if your Overheat bar is above 90%, your final neutral M1 will behave like any other characters, dealing only 4 damage instead of 8 until you cool down. To reduce the amount of Overheat you have, you need to use his special. It has 2 variations. The first is a quick taunt that stuns you for half a second and reduces your Overheat by 60%. The second variation only activates if your Overheat bar is at 100%. It puts you into a 1.5 second interruptible animation that drains the bar back down to 0%. Both versions share the same 15-second cooldown and do not require awakening to use. Let's move on to his first move. It's a ranged projectile that deals 7 damage and has an almost non-existent cooldown of only 0.5 seconds. It also bypasses ragdoll, but it does have a couple of downsides. It fills the Overheat bar by 20% and it can also be blocked. This move also has a second variant that activates if you hold the skill for 2 full seconds. In that version, the projectile deals double damage and becomes unblockable, but it also fills the Overheat bar by a massive 40%. Both variants can also be used while airborne, which makes aiming easier. This move can also be used during a front dash to cancel the initial dash early and immediately do another one with slightly less distance. In that version, it acts like a normal front dash, dealing 4 damage, being blockable and not bypassing ragdoll. His second move is a quick barrage that deals 18 damage in total and launches the enemy into the air. It can be blocked and doesn't hit grounded targets, although it can connect after an uppercut. It also has a fairly long cooldown of 20 seconds. It's worth mentioning that even though it looks like a grab, it actually isn't, so you need to keep aiming your punches for the entire animation. His third move is a punch that slams the ground and launches the target into the air on impact. It has extremely long range, deals 12 damage, has a cooldown of only 15 seconds, cannot be blocked, and can also hit ragdolled enemies. If the target you're aiming at is already in the air when you use it, the move will instead spike them back into the ground. And for his last move, Ryu fires 2 quick mini beams, followed by 1 large granite blast. If every hit connects, the move deals a total of 16 damage. It has a fairly long cooldown of 18 seconds, bypasses ragdoll, but it does have a downside. The first 2 mini beams can be blocked, and the move itself also increases the Overheat bar by 30%. If you use this move while your Overheat bar is full, Ryu skips the 2 mini beams entirely and fires Granite Blast right away. The normal version of Granite Blast pulls the target toward Ryu, while the overheated version knocks them away. Now for his ultimate. By pressing G, Ryu enters a fully invincible state that lets you aim for about 1.5 seconds before locking you in place. After a short pause, he fires a laser that deals around 105 damage, although the damage scales down the more targets it hits. The awakening itself cannot be used while your Overheat bar is full. However, if your Overheat bar is at 80% or higher, after firing the beam, Ryu will enter his awakening state. If you use the awakening while your Overheat bar is below 80%, you'll instead be left with a fully overheated bar and sent back to your normal moveset. Upon entering his awakening state, several things change. The first and most noticeable one is that Ryu physically cannot regenerate while awakened, and he also no longer has an Overheat bar at all, which makes his special completely useless. His final neutral M1 is always going to be the normal punch 1. While he is awakened, reaching 0 HP will not kill him right away. Instead, it will consume some of his remaining awakening time, similar to Haruda's miracles. His first awakened move consists of 2 parts. The first part is an AoE ground slam that sends opponents flying, and the second part is a dash in the direction you aim, where Ryu attempts to grab the target. Both parts are unblockable and bypass ragdoll. The slam deals 10 damage, the grab deals 24, for a total of 34 damage, and the move has an 18-second cooldown. His second awakened move has a startup similar to brute force. Ryu grabs the enemy and follows up with a quick barrage that deals 20 damage and leaves them standing right in front of you without stunning them. The move itself cannot be interrupted, although if you get hit during the windup, that windup will be extended by another half a second. It cannot be blocked, but it also does not bypass ragdoll, and it has a cooldown of 15 seconds. And for his last fourth move, Ryu starts with a quick dash in the direction you're looking, while attempting to kick the target. If the kick lands successfully, the target takes 7 damage and gets knocked back briefly. Right after that, Ryu instantly follows up with a surfing punch, which, if it lands, sends both players into a short cutscene. All the punches during the cutscene deal a total of 30 damage, bringing the move up to 37 damage in total if both parts land successfully. If the first kick gets blocked, Ryu will still follow up with an unblockable punch afterward. That punch cannot be blocked, but it does not bypass ragdoll, while the dash kick does. This move also has a cooldown of 20 seconds and deals 10 damage to Ryu himself if the cutscene punch lands. Let's move on to the combos now. Ryu's moveset is actually very flexible, but the highest damage combo I could find is 2 M1s into an uppercut, then your second move, followed by the third move, extended with a quick first skill, and finished with the fourth move into a down slam, after which you can either tap or hold the first skill. This combo deals around 65 to 70 damage and is pretty reliable. The rest of his combos are mostly very similar, but they deal a bit less damage because the moves aren't being used in the most optimal order. So honestly, I'd suggest just learning this one combo and using it as much as possible. Now for some tips. After playing Ryu for around 5 hours, there are 3 main ones I can give you. The first is that, whenever possible, you shouldn't wait until you're fully overheated before using your special. The overheated variant takes a bit too long, and if it gets interrupted, you're stuck waiting 15 seconds for it to come back, since there's no other way to cool down. On top of that, you should try to make the most out of the normal variant and only use it after reaching at least 60% overheat. The second tip is to abuse the hell out of his third neutral M1 range. It's basically a ranged 8 damage M1 that only fills overheat by 10%, and it's very hard to punish. Most people aren't expecting to get hit from front dash range by a single hit scan M1, so a lot of the time it just won't get blocked, and you'll get a free 8 damage. It's also useful for getting your overheat bar up to 80% for awakening. And for the last tip, always try to start your combos with the second skill whenever you have it. Combo-wise, it's the hardest move to land mid-combo because it doesn't hit ragdolled targets and it can be blocked, but the knockback and damage it gives you make it a very strong combo starter. It either lets you follow up with easy combos or bait out an evasive. Finally, let's go over the biggest mistakes. First, do not use your special recklessly. Even though the normal variant is very quick and usually won't get interrupted, it still has a moderate amount of end lag, which means you can get punished pretty easily if you use it carelessly. Second, don't hold Granite Blast unless you're sure it's going to land. The held version is mostly a combo tool when you know your target doesn't have evasive. So outside of combos, it's much safer to stick to the normal tap version. And for the sake of your own sanity, stop spamming Granite Blast. They're just going to get blocked and build up your overheat bar way too fast. Most of the time, 7 damage simply isn't worth it, especially when your M1 does more damage, builds less heat, and has the same end lag. In the end, I'd say that Ryu is a very fun and mostly balanced character. He's strong in the right hands, and he's still very enjoyable to play even if you just want to spam Granite Blasts endlessly. And most importantly, his gimmick actually feels unique instead of being boring or overly niche. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more guides. Peace.